Thank you, Dr. Deepak Kumar Sahay, for having invited me for the 6th Cyber and Data Security Summit 2022. And the theme of this particular summit is how to mitigate fraud in a digital world. Given the situation we are in for the last 2 years, we have finally entered what I call as the digital immersion age. The digital transformation which the companies tried to make for last 2 decades was finally accentuated and achieved by COVID. It is a very different sort of a factor which brought us into a situation where the physical world finally got restricted to our particular rooms and houses given the pandemic situation. So we stressed out into the online world to fulfill all our requirements, may it be education, may it be your job, entertainment, interacting with the friends and families, to the extent that even marriages, birthdays, everything started happening in the digital world. So that is the nature of the digital world, the way which it has encompassed today. When whole life moves on to the digital world, it's primordial that all other activities also move on to the digital world. And the organized crime syndicates and the people who were in the work of hacking and data breaches and things of that nature, they had a field day. And we find that the cyber crimes has increased phenomenally over the last 2 years, more so in the areas of ransomware, where we find it as a new threat and an existential threat to mankind. So the topic of the day today is the changing face of cybercrime in the digital immersion age. So cybercrime, the way it started a couple of years back or a couple of decades back, and the way it is progressing, through my lecture, through my welcome address, I'll give you a fair idea as to where we come from and where we are going. So I come from a background, I'm an ex-IPS officer, and I spent nearly 15, 20 years of my career in the police in trying to fathom out what IT is, what technology is, what information and technology, information and communication technology is. And I have done large number of projects. So my initiation or baptism into technology has been through an ERP by name Police IT. So it is just 2.5 million lines of coding, and suffice to say that currently it's working all across Karnataka Police at 1,637 locations, 517 screens, 422 reports, and one single screen, which we call as the statement 17, can take care of nearly 6 lakh criminal cases and 2 lakh criminal records. From there, I graduated 2 years back. I took voluntary retirement from the Indian Police Service, and because of the capabilities and the expertise which I had, I decided to create India's first technology consultancy aggregator. And very recently, I think only last week, we launched our interactional website. The name of the company is TechCon Pro, and the job we do is teaching technology solutions, which means we can be your technology solutions provider for specific areas of your real life problem, business problem, management problem, and the like. We deal with nearly 125 consultancy areas in 9 verticals, and there are 32 technologies from 24 companies who are working on with us as a part of a gig economy model, which is one of its kind. We don't have a gig economy model in this country or might be anywhere else in consultancy, project creation, and project execution. We also have 29 products, of which 7 products are from the Israeli fold, and we also run 39 courses in what we call as the Tech Ed vertical of TechCon Pro. So we start with the lecture. This is the digital immersion age. So unaware of the tools in the digital immersion age, it is thought that we should be aware of the tools by which we live. By which we live, what we understand is that nearly 70-80% of our life is on cloud today. How many of us understand the cloud? How many of the companies understand the cloud? How many of us understand the wherewithal or the dangers of living in a cloud environment or a cloud world? And the answer is very few of us, inclusive of financial institutions, of banks, insurance companies, government, even large number of police forces across the face of this earth. So finally, what has happened that we control the physical area and the cyber area remains uncontrolled for most part of our living space. So that is the challenge which we face. And cyber security thus has become very critical to our existence. Dr. Deepak Kumar Sahay has been trying his level best to bring the cyber security and the cyber awareness to the Indian population and outside. I've been also trying to do for the last 2 decades. But suffice to say that some amount of awareness has certainly gone down with the masses. But the level at which we are operating and the level of technology with which we are interacting on a day-to-day basis, I think our capabilities to understand it should be at a much higher level. Suffice to say that the technical specifications of a smartphone we know so well. But for that, we don't know most of the features which the smartphone has. And if it were to be hacked, if there has to be a key driver or a key logger which is impacting your phone, you'll not be able to make out that is the process which is basically trying to take information out of your phone. So today we have reached a place where cyber and physical are not two independent worlds. So cyber physical is one single continuum. This is what we call as the industrial revolution 4.0 or industry 4.0, where cyber and physical becomes a continuum, and that is what life is all about. And as we move further, we will get into something what you call as the augmented and virtual reality, where you get into metaverse, which is the replication of what is there in the digital space with lots of other features and interoperability between the two different spaces. So coming to cyber crime, which is the topic of the day and the changing face of cyber crime, today we are in the midst of a cyber crime explosion. And the nature of the cyber crime we have been trying to divide in couple of categories, but unfortunately today it has reached a level where it's very difficult to even categorize it. And the total quantum of cyber crime which happens on a regular basis and the total number of cyber crimes reported, there is a huge gap, and that huge gap is not being bridged. On the other way, it is actually that gap is increasing. So the number of cases which reaches the law enforcement agencies and the investigative agencies is just a minuscule of the total number of cases which happen on any given day, any given week, or any given month. Globally and more in India, the reporting is very low. So if you go by the figures of 2021, it comes to 16.4 billion per day. So that is the damage which the cyber crime does. We'll not get into any further details. Suffice to say that the loss to the economy is pretty huge, and it's also in coming in way of our productivity and efficiency. It is in coming in way of our smooth, seamless conduct of business and creates huge amount of stress. And at some particular point in time, we realize that we are against an adversary which we have absolutely no idea. If you have to secure a house, you know your doors, your windows, your entry, your compound wall, and then you have CCTVs. Literally, you have know all the things which is required to secure a house. But how do you secure your digital presence? How do you secure a company on the internet? How do you secure your servers? How do you secure your interactions? I don't think there are many people who are either aware of or have the capability and the competence, inclusive of the biggest corporations in the world, to somehow declare that they are in a position of relative strength compared to the adversaries. The total quantum of cyber crime, if it is to be calculated by way of the gross domestic product of a particular country, then cyber crime would be just around 12th or 13th as the size of a country. So this is where we have reached. So $1.5 trillion. There are not many countries. There might be around 10, 11 countries who have a GDP of beyond or above $1.5 trillion. So this is the nature of the crime. I remember, I think around 20, 25 years back, when I was SP in a district in Karnataka, I think the total property loss in the whole state was around 120 crores. So compare that 120 crores in a state of Karnataka, which would be population-wise as much of a size or as much of a population as of United Kingdom, 120 crores, and today we are talking in terms of $1.5 trillion. And the statistics which are provided for the year 2021, which has just passed by, it is really intriguing. It is really scary. And if we continue the manner we do, it will be extremely difficult for us to manage our life itself as we move further, or it remains a truncated existence, or we end up paying ransom, or we will be going in areas and ways where we will not be in control of our data, of our assets, of our movement, we will not be able to track our very existence itself. 21% of the files are not protected around the globe. I'm not sure as to what is the total percentage of pirated softwares which we use in this country. 60% of the frauds have mobile phone as their origin, and nobody is aware of the fact as to how this whole ecosystem operates and where are the different pieces of that jigsaw puzzle. And then we have the added problem of the encryption age. So 90% of the hackers are using encryption, and encryption, as we all know, is a technology which comes in way of law enforcement, of interception, of investigation, and literally anything and everything. And a 256-bit encryption can give you a nature of a security, confidentiality, and privacy, which is next to impossible to break. So coming to the chronology of cyber crime, so it started, say, around 1995. So first decade of commercial internet, and then we come to the second decade of the commercial internet, starting with curiosity. It was for fun. The kids wanted to prove it to the authorities or powers or the companies that they know more of technology than the people who are running governance or the people who are running their companies. And over a period of time, it moved on to revenge, monetary gain, and currently it is at the level of national security where critical infrastructure is at the maximum risk.